there, and welcome to the Healing Word of the Week podcast with me, Marissa of Marissa Moments, where you might get triggered into seeing your own reflection, but it's to reconnect you to yourself and awaken the divinity within. So prepare for laughs, resonance, and accountability through true stories, channeled messages, prophetic words, and everything in between. So I hope you're ready, because guess what? Here we go. Okay, so the word of the week is obedience. Obedience. I would spell that, but I don't want to mess it up. Obedience. So here's the thing, right? True story about me. Now, I always get kind of like these downloads, right? Like where I get these notions that come to mind. And I used to say, I don't know where it comes from, where something just pops into your brain. Well, now I know it's divine messages from God, right? Or however you want to refer to it, spirit, God, Gaia, ancestors, angels, and saints. That's semantics to me, so let's keep listening. So I used to get these notions that come to my heart, and it would be for simple things. It would be take out the garbage. And you know what I would do? I'd say, nah, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it later. And then later or tomorrow would come and something else would pop up. And now all of a sudden my list is adding up and I'm starting to feel overwhelmed and I'm starting to snap on people, right? Snap on and snap at people just because I didn't listen. I had the notion, but I didn't get into ingredients. I must be hungry. I didn't get into agreement with it, right? So instead of being obedient, I just did my own thing. Now let's take it even further. So there's been people that I felt compelled to speak to, just to say a hello or anything like that. And again, me being me, I'm stubborn. I wouldn't listen, and I'd be like, nah, they're going to think I'm weird, so I'm just not going to say anything. And I didn't. And then I would overhear a conversation that they might have with someone else, and they're actually the exact type of person that I had been praying for God to bring into my life. But now, the ship has sailed, right? Because maybe they're yards away. And at this point, I'm going to have to chase them down. Just be like, hey, how's it going? As opposed to being obedient in the moment when they're right there next to me. Right. So why am I talking about this? Well, as you all know, I've been talking a lot about the give and receive lately. And if you're not familiar with it, it is a program that myself and my family have put together and started that is a free community apparel exchange pop-up boutique that serves North Chicago, which is where I live, where I'm at currently. So I'm very proud of this, but also I had this idea, or this notion was put on my heart, because I can't even say I had the idea, right? Because any idea that I receive at this point, I know it's coming from a higher power. I know it's coming from a greater source than myself. I'm just simply the device that is being used to carry out these plans and these propositions and all these types of things, right? But the thing of it is, in that moment, I doubted myself. I made up every single possible reason why it couldn't work, as opposed to looking at the possibilities of how it could work, right? How my actions could bring about more change and bring about more possibilities, right? Now, of course, if you've been following along with me, you also know, and maybe even on your own, you realize and recognize that also everything happens for a reason and in its own time. So if something is meant for you, then guess what? You can't even cancel it out yourself. I mean, you can, but you can't. You just have to find that one moment when you decide to get into obedience, be obedient, get into agreement, all of these different ways of saying the exact same thing. And then that is when it's going to start coming to fruition. Now, had I started things back then, years ago, when I thought of it, maybe it would have had a different face to it. But that doesn't mean it would not have taken place. That does not mean that it couldn't have happened, right? But for me, I just wasn't ready yet. So God had to keep molding me through my personal experiences, through witnessing other people's activities and attending different events and talking to different people. You want to know something that makes this experience in this project successful is because I no longer feel that hesitancy when I get those notions. When I have that notion to reach out to someone who's in my belly dance class, when I have that notion to go to the director of the facility that I take Zumba in, when I get that inclination to talk to my dentist when I'm there for a cleaning to see if they are willing to contribute as well. And all of these examples have been met with positivity. Right? Everyone has been ready, willing, and able to lend a helping hand. And that in and of itself is them being obedient, right? To their own divine inclinations, to their own intuitive guidance system that says she is the person who is coming from a good place and is not trying to take advantage of anyone else, and is going to use the things that I have to help others, right? Because here's the thing, and I know I'm talking a lot about the give and receive, but I'm hoping that you're able to read between the lines and apply this to yourself as well. And we're gonna break it down a little bit more in a second. But the thing of it is a lot of us have been kind of programmed with this cynicism, right? Where it's like, well, if I give you my clothes, you're probably going to turn around and try to sell them for a markup. You're not going to take care of them. You don't even care about the people who are trying to get these things. You're not going to the people who actually need them, etc., etc. Now, I know that that's been the notion on my mind because I donate to these places. I donate to these shops, and I actually shop there too. You know, I'm not just talking the talk. I walk my talk, right? But the thing of it is that people have gotten into agreement and obedience. I wanted to say obedience, but the word was agreement. And again, it's about being obedient to what you're being driven towards. Odds are good. You already have that divine plan. You already see the greater picture. Now, I also want you to keep in mind that that picture that you have kind of push pinned into your mind, that manifestation that you're working on, understand that it may not and probably won't look exactly like what you have thumbtacked to the wall of your mind. Understand that you have to be obedient within that path and journey that takes you to that thumbtacked image. And then understand that if the colors don't match, if the people don't match, if the conversations don't match, if all of these types of things don't exactly match what you had in your mind, understand that that doesn't mean that it's not for you. That just means that you have to get into agreement with the shifts in the path that will take you to where you're supposed to be, as opposed to where you force yourself into going. And you'll know the difference because of that alignment. When you start feeling that good feeling inside, when you start feeling like, yes, this is it. This is taking me to where I know I should be, what I'm supposed to do. And at the same time, understand and recognize that that doesn't always mean that everything's going to be an instant success, right? You're going to have flops. You're going to be met with a bunch of no's. You're going to have all of these things. But if this is on your heart, and if you know that this is a part of your path and your journey, not based off of chasing the bag or not based off of this is what so-and-so told me I should do, but because it is a divine connection within. It is something that came to you, whether it be in a dream, whether it be in a notion. And when I say a notion, understand that I'm referring to a download from God, because we are all connected. It's just some of us choose to acknowledge where the connection actually comes from. And some of us choose to acknowledge that we actually have that connection because society will try to explain away your divinity. Society will try to explain away your miracles. Society will try to explain away everything that is meant for you, and then wonder why you're overthinking and why you have to go to the therapist office to figure things out. And again, there is no blame or shame, because I did therapy for years and years. And if I feel the need to go to therapy tomorrow, guess what? I'm going. because that's a part of my obedience as well. Taking care of myself mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, the whole self, not just a part of myself. I can't be on here talking about all of these things. I can't be on here talking about obedience and then refuse to be obedient to the things that God is telling me to do. Right? This could come down to if you feel like you want to go back to school, if you keep feeling and you're seeing all these signs pop up on the road for like a different college or even a trade school or whatever it is, and you keep having that notion in the back of your mind that maybe you don't want to tell anybody because you don't want to get made fun of or whatever, that is your sign. That is your symbol. That is your green light from God saying, go do this. But know and understand that we all have free will. So just like with the garbage situation, that story that I told earlier about me not taking out the trash and then having a pile up in the aftermath, just like with that, the more you sit on things, the more they're going to sit on top of you. Did you pick that up? Because the more you sit on things, the more they're going to sit on top of you. They will oppress you, and then you will choose to point to everyone but yourself and put that blame and shame on them when you could have all the time collected your own power and done what you felt divinely led to do. This isn't about comparison. This isn't about doing things because somebody else told you to. This isn't about doing things because of the aesthetic that you will put out to the public. This isn't about doing things because you want to be better than so-and-so or anything like that, or you're chasing a bag or any of that type of stuff. No, this is about your own divinity. This is about getting into agreement and being obedient to the things that you are called to do. And this doesn't have to just be education. This doesn't have to just be entrepreneurship. I struggle with that word, y'all. But this doesn't have to just be excluded to certain things. It doesn't have to be business oriented. This could be spending more time with your family. This could be taking more time towards your own self-care. Maybe you're ripping and running all day long, and then that extra time that you typically would have for freedom is spent instead scrolling on social media. And maybe you have been getting that download that says, get off of social media and go outside and just breathe the air, look at the sky, admire God's work, right? It could be that you don't even shower every day. And again, this is not to put blame or shame. This is just highlighting the truth, right? I years ago, I couldn't even tell you if I took a shower in a day. I couldn't tell you. I didn't remember. Did I take a shower today? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. And then I got that download of becoming more intentional about my habits, about the things that was more so self-care for me, about washing the day off, about adding some sea salt to my loofah so that way I'm not only exfoliating, but I am cleansing that energy from everybody else throughout the day. About making sure that I set boundaries, clear boundaries with other people that say, listen, after a certain time, do not contact me unless it's an emergency. And if it's an emergency, ask yourself, how can Marissa help? Because if the answer is no, then maybe that phone call needs to be saved and used towards somebody else, right? It took me a while to get here, you guys. Like I said, I started off where I couldn't even remember if I took a shower. Now it's okay. I set an alarm on my phone. I'm very intentional. And I say, okay, if I haven't showered by this specific time and I'm at home, obviously we got to add that in there. I can't take a shower in the middle of a restaurant, right? I mean, they're not doing that quite yet. But if I'm at home, then that's what I do. If I don't have anything else that is pressing in the moment, then that is what I do. And I work it around my children, right? I make sure that they're taken care of. They're in bed, all of those things. Everyone's fed. Everything is situated. You know, it's not about a state of perfection. It's just about using what we already have and being obedient to the downloads that we receive. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, then how are we going to take care of others? And so many of us have been raised with the notion of becoming that sacrificial lamb or the long suffering wife, oh, well, I got to do this for them. And if I don't do it and da, 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 da. And you know what happened? I mentioned going to a therapist before. My therapist at one point had said, what's going to happen if you don't do it, Marissa? And I was like, it's going to be chaos. She said, Marissa, what's going to happen if you do not do it? I said, well, they'll probably have to do it on their own. Okay, well, what's going to happen if they do it on their own? I said, it's going to be wrong. She said, is it going to be wrong, or is it not going to be the way that, pardon me, the way that you do it? Is it just not going to measure up to your own personal standards? But will it be done? And I said, yeah, I guess it will get done. She said, guess what? The world will not collapse if you choose to take a time out. It's okay to take a step back. It's okay to not feel like you have to do everything for everyone at every turn. Right? It is okay. Not only is it okay, but it's necessary. So I say all of that to say, when you get those notions, and sometimes the falling into obedience can be your nose starts to run. You ever be somewhere and like your nose just starts to run all of a sudden, and then mentally that's your body telling you, listen, something's a coming, something's brewing, right? So maybe you want to start gathering up some rest while you can. So that way your body can fight off whatever's trying to come. And you won't end up in bed for a week saying, oh man, I feel horrible. If you get into obedience at that first nose drip, then you will be able to, well, not definitely, but more likely than not, you'll be able to go around all the problems that might be trying to come your way. Now I'm going on and on. I didn't even realize it's over 17 minutes, y'all. But I hope that you are seeing yourself and you are picking up what I'm putting down, because yes, this message is for you. You have to get into agreement, start becoming obedient to the messages that the great divine that God is sending to your heart. And I'm not talking about the things that come to your mind, because oftentimes your mind, it can be led astray, right? And sometimes even your heart, if you're not careful to guard it in a way to heal your own wounds. The key thing in this is to make sure that we're not operating from our trauma, our wounds, our toxic programming, any of those types of things. And the way to do that is to start your own healing process. And again, I've mentioned therapists about a gazillion times. And so maybe you have to go to a friend that you know can be neutral about things and not make you feel like a burden when you're sharing your thoughts with them. Maybe you do need to go to a counselor. And I know, I hear you. Not everybody can afford a therapist, a psychiatrist, all those types of things. I hear you. I see you. I am you, right? But there are different opportunities. There's different things that exist out there. You just got to do a little bit of work to find them. It does exist. I promise you that. You just got to put in a little bit of work to find them. And it's going to vary from country to country, state to state, all of those different types of things. But there are certain resources out there. You just have to put in the work to find them. But even outside of mental and all emotional clarity and self-care, overall, it can come down to anything. God will cover you your entire life if you are willing to turn to him and be like, yo, what am I supposed to do? But you can't have that anticipation that it's going to be an instant response, because sometimes he's going to sit in silence just to check on your faith and to see if you're going to continue on and allow that truth and wisdom to reveal itself in due time. Sometimes we don't even know the truth. Sometimes we don't even know the direction to walk until we run into the wall of it. We hit that door of it and we're like, oh, I was walking that direction the whole time. But I had my head down. I was looking at my feet and at the ground and thinking to myself, nadie me quieren. The whole time, that means nobody loves me, feeling depressed and all those types of things. And I'm not saying that to belittle you, because I've been there, done that, tried the veal. And sometimes I still try it. But sometimes we don't even recognize the truth in front of our face because we're so busy having our head hung low and becoming that sacrificial lamb to everyone around us and negating our own personal intuitive guidance system. So I'm going to stop now because it's about 20 minutes and I want you to absorb what I am saying. I want you to reflect on it. I want you to think about all the spaces and places where you have not been obedient, right? And of course, we always got to keep in mind that the only rules are that we cause no intentional harm to self or one another. Outside of that, the things that you are feeling called to do, it is for you. That could have been a cheer. But anyway, that's it for now. So thank you so much for listening. I hope that you're feeling inspired. I hope that you are reflecting upon these words. I hope you are able to see yourself and to make subtle shifts in your world. It doesn't have to be huge. It does not have to be dynamic. If it is, that's great. But if it isn't, that's great too. Just make subtle adjustments. Just start recognizing things. Just try to start becoming more mindful. Just when you do something and you feel like you flub up, just make sure that you reflect on it and say, what can I do to improve next time? How will I not fall into this trap? How can I become more obedient so that way I don't end up in a situation that I feel like I got to go over and over and over and play the different types of responses I could have given. So that's it for sure. Thanks again for listening. Of course, there is a new word of the week released every single Monday morning at 5:55 a.m. Central Standard Time, United States. And in the meantime, find me all over social media. You guys, I am literally everywhere. Look me up as the Give and Receive. That's the letter N as instead of the word and. The Give and Receive. I'll put links in. And also find me as Marissa Moments. And as you look me up, just remember, it is Marissa with one S because as I always like to say, there is only one me. So until next time, I wish you the best day, week, month, year, everything ever. Thank you for listening. Thank you for walking with me. Friend me, find me, walk with me, all the things. And happy healing, my friends.